see that the ministries which are relevant to green development in Punjab are present over here. The finance, which is the most important one, the transport ministry, Gilani Saab just talked about the issues that we face in Punjab, and of course World Bank and Elango, who's been passionately following this project, and I think that the whole team effort has made this day possible. We are also happy that this project now is finally getting underway, and I think it will provide the much needed trigger in Punjab to move towards green development in the province. The issues are humongous, the challenges are huge, but I think that we have to start taking the steps in the right direction, and this certainly is a step in the right direction. We have to start changing the way we think about the whole development paradigm, whether it be the transport sector, the agriculture sector, the forestry sector, and that is what is needed in Pakistan and particularly in Punjab, because we're just coming out of a decade of what I think was really disastrous development, because it took us in the wrong direction, and just in Lahore, the green cover, 70% of the green cover got lost in a decade. This was known as the city of gardens right from the time of the Mughals, and then the gardens totally vanished. I mean, we hardly see any green cover in the new developments of Lahore that have taken place. So this is just one indicator, but a lot of other indicators went in the wrong direction. So we have to start taking it back. It is not an easy task. It's not an on-off switch that you can just switch one and go to the other, because it takes a lot of time to start thinking differently and then start developing differently. So that's why I said that this is one of the triggers that we needed in Punjab, and I'm glad that the World Bank is totally on board, and we are now headed in the right direction. It has a lot of components. What was most concerning for me was to start thinking about the smog issue in Punjab and how we are going to integrate it through this project in the right direction. So I had a lot of meetings with the World Bank, Imran Saab in particular, and we've been pushing for the deliverables to come out very quickly on the smog issue. And I think that we have decided that the first thing that needs to be done is to understand the severity of the smog issue with credible monitoring systems. At the moment, we have 2 monitoring stations in Lahore. I visited one of them yesterday on Jail Road. There is another one which is near the border and near Wagah. And then there are a lot of other private sector monitoring sort of units which are functional in Punjab, in Lahore. So through this project, what we will be doing is, in the first phase, to get at least 10 new monitoring stations set up for Lahore within the next 6 to 8 months, so that we know, the issue, we can start understanding the issue. Just as a comparison, the city of Delhi has 37 monitoring stations working in the city, which are producing the data which then triggers the response in the city. We also need to engage the civil society into this process. I was looking at what is happening in Delhi, and they have a gradation scheme, but that the trigger for that gradation occurs through a joint committee of the government and the civil society. So we need to set up that committee, and I'm rushing through this process because I have to meet the chief minister at 1, and I will be talking to him about that. We need to set up that system so that we have the SOPs ready, and when the credible data comes in, the response can come out immediately in the city. Just on the smog issue, yesterday, because I was visiting the EPD monitoring station, the 2 things that struck me was that we do the monitoring of the air quality on a 24-hourly basis, and we take out the average and set up the AQI. That's a technical issue, but to my mind, what the 2 things that are missing over there is that there are certain hotspots in Lahore where the AQI goes into extreme limits, whereas the rest of the city, if you take it as a whole, is still good. So I think we have to start dealing with those hotspots in a localized manner. Secondly, there's a time of day issue also. There are times of days in which the smog issue gets bad at certain particular locations. So for that, the response has to be accustomed to that, and that's why I think that once we have this joint committee, it can start looking at those issues. But on a long-term basis, we need to start pushing our industries towards the right direction. This project will help us again do that, to create a fund which will subsidize the existing industries to put up the scrubbers that remove the air pollution, and for new industries to start using those scrubber technologies. The same fund would help us also start using the brick kilns, better technology, which is the zigzag technology, which requires us, funding of about 20 to 25 lakh rupees. So this is the vehicle which will allow us to do that and start helping them in converting to a better technology. Then crop burning is a very big issue. It affects the whole of Punjab. Major part of it is in India. 90% of the crop burning occurs over there. I mean, if you read the recent articles for New Delhi, you can understand that there's a big issue between rural and urban Punjab in India right now because of crop burning, because it is an issue which affects the city but happens in the rural areas. But similarly, we also get affected in our part of Punjab because there is crop burning that happens over here also, which is much reduced in the last year, but it still happens, and there has to be a subsidized process which can help the farmers either shift it over to a different crop or to use technologies which can reduce this crop burning. There are ways of doing that. So as I said, this will now provide us a platform to start looking at all these options in a proactive manner and start doing the things on the ground. So I would like to thank the World Bank and the Punjab government. Baur Rizwan Sahab is sitting here. He's been taking a focus on this issue. So we need this team effort, the government, the donors, the partners, and the civil society to work together to start addressing the issues. Because these are issues which are going to affect us. They're not going to go away just by us, thinking differently. They have to be addressed, and they have to be addressed through a cohesive plan. And I think that we now have the platform, the funding, and the will of the government. This government is totally committed to this direction. I mean, a big indicator of that is that in our ministry, the funding went up by 16 times. 16 times at a time when the economy is on a real pressure, and there's very little fiscal space for government to spend on any good initiative, but they chose to spend on the initiative of the climate change ministry. I'm also very happy. I just got the message that the EV policy that we had worked on is now on the agenda for tomorrow's cabinet meeting, so we hope to get it passed tomorrow, and that will again trigger for the transport sector a totally new paradigm, and it will help us to address the smog issue, because EV vehicles, especially two-wheelers, three-wheelers, which are the major cause. When you go on to EV, the pollution levels go down by 2/3, and the cost of running also goes down by 2/3. So it's a win-win option, and I hope once we get this policy passed, it will provide us the framework to go in that direction. So with this, I would like to thank you and apologize because I have to rush. The Chief Minister has called me for a meeting at 1, and he wants to know about this particular project and how we can push it forward as soon as possible. Thank you very much.